All right, we are live. We're 8 seconds in. Uh, Apparently, this doesn't update quickly. What's up? What is up, Wine Mixer? Welcome to This Week in the Mixer, episode 2.52. I'm joined by Jeff, as normal, as per usual. Maybe a few days late, but that's all right. That's all right. Better late than never. Um, so hey Ben, Jeff, how are things going in the Mayer household? All good, the
They're
dog's good.
everything's good. Um, yeah,
Awesome.
can't can't complain.
Good deal. Yeah, so I mean things here are well and good. Just we're kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for some sports action. Not quite Formula One, but Indy was back, so uh, they had a shortened race, and it was quite boring. I think everybody was playing it kind of safe. The track is kind of dangerous, and in general, and I think maybe I don't know if it was just one race, but it just seemed like the guys weren't pushing it, and
Yeah,
a lot of those teams might be trying to bring it home because the economy's not so good and those cars are fucking expensive.
right.
So um, anyway, I thought that was I thought that was interesting. Golf I hear is back.
It is first round yesterday.
Hockey's coming back. Basketball is coming back. Um, Baseball's fucking up like they usually do. And yet, with all of this happening, the main topic conversation is naturally Colin Kaepernick and kneeling for the anthem. So I mean, just to recap, Drew Brees said that he didn't agree with kneeling during the anthem at any point. He was doing some promo for Wrangler jeans, so he was kind of like baited into it, and then he posted a comment apologizing for people being offended for what he said, basically, and like I'm sorry what I said upset you. Like I'm sorry it made you feel that way. Not really. I mean, he did have some like a tinge of remorse at least. And then he came back and like really said after speaking with some teammates, not really a change of heart, but gave him some perspective. It sounded more sincere. Um, However, who knows? Only he knows really how sincere he is and how much he understands the issues. Um, the players, of course, came out with that video, what they want from the NFL. Roger Goodell basically said everything in the video that they wanted him to come out and say that they support Black Lives Matter. Did they say anything about kneeling specifically? Did Goodell say anything specifically about kneeling? I don't think he did.
I don't remember if he said anything specific about it, but I know he basically said they screwed up in their
Yeah,
initial handling of the situation.
yeah,
So I think even if he didn't say anything specifically, he still kind of like was like, yeah, like we should have let them kneel, kind of thing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Um,
yeah, 100%. I mean, what do you think's gonna happen during the anthem? Everybody gonna be kneeling? Is it gonna be a shitstorm? Like, obviously, Trump. It's been on Trump's radar for a while. He's had a target on the NFL because they wouldn't let him own a team, basically, way back, and
Yeah,
so it's gonna
low
be.
key blame the NFL for Trump being president. If they let him buy the Buffalo Bills, he probably never would have ran because he would have been too preoccupied with other things.
Oh man, can you imagine Bill's Mafia with Trump running it? uh, Anywho, um, yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I think there's gonna be obviously a lot of anthem protests. However, is it gonna be in front of empty stadiums? Is it gonna have the same impact? Are they even gonna air it? Um, it's gonna be weird. And then of course, like if and when the football season does kick off, scheduled sometime in September, right? Uh, Peak in this election year. I can only imagine what we're headed for.
Yeah.
However, I've always been a proponent of a peaceful protesting. A protest is supposed to catch your eye. Otherwise, like, what does it do? Like school walkouts, for instance, that's one form of protest, and people take notice, but it's like, it doesn't really hurt anybody. So, but it's supposed to catch your attention. It's supposed to make you feel something. It's supposed to have some impact. And kneeling for the anthem does definitely have that impact. And I don't know. I get it because I mean I don't have the same feeling when I look at the flag that I used to. You know what I mean? So it's
So I'll be completely honest. My feeling on the flag has never changed. There is, it's always been weird to me and people see things in, you know, people see significance in symbols and stuff
yeah.
like that, and they put their own feelings into symbols.
Uh-huh.
But like when I look at the flag, there's literally nothing on the flag that is designed for our military. Our military, each branch has their own flag, and I have always been of the thought that like the flag represents the United States.
Yeah.
If you want to represent the military, fly their flag, right? Like that's always been my thought on it. So it's always been weird to me when people say, like Drew Brees, right, says like when he looks at the U.S. flag, right, like he thinks about his grandfather, right, or his grandfathers or whatever, right, and he thinks about our military and this and that, and that's everyone's like, I don't want to say everyone's, that's a lot of people's default is like, oh, the flag represents the military. But like in my opinion, it doesn't, and it never has. Like it was never designed for that.
Yeah.
If it was designed for that, it would represent them on the flag. But it has 50 stars for 50 states. It has the red and white stripes, right? Like there's nothing military about the flag, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's always been the weird thing to me, that like that is everyone's default, but there's really nothing to back that up, right?
Yeah.
Like. Now I'm not saying like no one's wrong for thinking that, right? Like we use the flag a lot in the military. Like they drape it over, when people die, they get the flag, all that stuff. Like they definitely do a lot for it. But in terms of what the flag actually represents, to me, it's never represented what a lot of people say it does to them. Now,
Yeah.
like I said, they're not wrong. Like you see whatever you want in symbols, right? I just see a representation of our country. Other people see more. But I think that we're seeing more and more people that are vocal about it, that like
Yeah.
don't necessarily see the same things in the flag. And it seems like as a whole, it's the best way to get people's attention. Although I think the people that they're trying to get their attention and this to go back to Drew Brees, this is why I think it created such an uproar, is that you're not wrong to look at the flag and see whatever you want to see, right?
Yeah.
But when you bring up that the flag represents something that it really doesn't and never has on a basic, like, this is how it was designed, this is what it represents level.
Yeah.
Right? When you bring up other things, now you're trying to distract, whether consciously or subconsciously, from the actual conversation that is trying to take place.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big issue there, is that, like, I don't think anyone's saying that, like, Drew is necessarily wrong for feeling that way. But he's wrong for bringing it up as a reason why other people shouldn't kneel, right? Because his feelings are his feelings. It's, it's like when you have an opinion, you have a right to have an opinion, right? But it doesn't mean you should force your opinion on other people as well, right?
Right.
So, I think that was the big issue. Was it felt like, especially for him, playing in a sport that is predominantly black, right? And being around predominantly black people for what he's been in the NFL for, he's almost 40, so we're probably close to 20 years at this point. And especially the last few years with like Malcolm Jenkins on his team, and a bunch of other guys that are outspoken about this, it really felt like over the last 3 or 4 years that Kaepernick hasn't been in the NFL, that Drew hadn't really talked to anyone about any of this, or hadn't really understood what they were fighting for.
Yeah.
So, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think Drew, he got, exactly what you said. He hadn't really thought about all the issues and kind of spoke up from a place of, I wouldn't necessarily say ignorance, but he just wasn't, he hadn't looked at it. He hadn't considered it as as like an actual like social issue. And I mean, that's kind of a symptom of a lot of the country, really. So hopefully, maybe him changing, if it changed a few people's minds, maybe it's a step in the right direction. But it's a lot to go. There's a lot to go. People got to actually take the time to see things from other people's perspective and listen instead of just being that stonewall, like no kneeling for the anthem. Right. Like these guys go out and die for our country. Like we can't disrespect them. It's like, well, it's not really, you're not disrespecting those people. It's, it's just to show that, maybe you think the country can be better.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know if we were planning on talking about it, but something that I'm really happy about that is happening in this country. I don't know how everyone feels about it, but I know how I feel about it. Confederate flags being banned at sporting events.
Oh, yeah.
Well, really just NASCAR.
Yeah.
Because that's the only place that really mattered. Yeah. And then Confederate generals' names being taken off military bases. And Confederate statues being brought down.
Yeah.
So from a personal perspective, I've never understood why these things were up in the first place or were the way they were. Being as they were the losing side in a very bad war for our country, like good war, bad war at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. They were the losing side and they got pretty much wiped out. Like it really wasn't all that close. And a lot of I was watching, somebody was talking about one of the generals that one of our military bases is named after. I'll have to look it up later. But he literally didn't win a battle in the Civil War and yet got a military base named after him. It's like, yeah, and it's just really nice, from my perspective, because not only what they represent, right? They've always represented, what they fought for.
Yeah.
To me, and I know there are some people in the South, the Confederate flag is big, that have said the Civil War wasn't about slavery, but then when you literally go back and look at why they wanted to secede, it was because the North was trying to change their way of life, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing that was changing was their ability to own other people.
Yeah.
So it most definitely was about slavery. And I just have to say it's made me really happy. And the fact that NASCAR has banned it finally is awesome, although late.
Right.
But yeah. And then obviously everyone's jokes about the NASCAR truck driver who literally won nothing.
Yeah.
And is retiring. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you there about the Confederate flag being banned at sporting events. I mean, it's still going to be around. It's going to be, I don't know, even more of a thing now. I know, like, I always see stuff from like Glamis and stuff, and they got, they
They
got the stars and straps all over the place.
yeah.
Um, it, and the fact that a lot of those symbols of the Confederate Army and such were still standing, I mean, I'm no history expert, but I'm sure when after the Civil War there had to be you know I can only imagine the difficulties in like keeping the country together when it was about to like rip apart at the seams. So they probably states do have a certain level of power, so they have you know their pride, so they probably put up statues, and then I would guess just as a compromise some of those were able to be left standing because it's like, okay, like as long as we work together, like you can have your freaking statues, but just don't own slaves. So, and then
Yeah.
obviously Southern pride and stuff, it's kept going, but I don't know, it does feel like a step in the right direction. Speaking of steps in the right direction, now that Kaepernick is maybe off the blackball list, you think he gets signed somewhere? Do you think he's even good enough in shape at this point? I mean, the guy was a Super Bowl quarterback. I feel like he has value at least as a backup compared to some of these guys. I mean, do you think he breaks camp with somebody, or do you think if there's an injury, he's got a shot? Do you think he signs before Cap or before Cam? What do you think?
I think he has a shot. I don't know if he really wants to.
Yeah,
To be honest, obviously I don't know him or his feelings. Everything I've read is that he has stayed in shape and that he wants to play.
yeah,
I think the concern at this point for me would be that it's been, 3 or 4 years without playing. And you just don't see people return after time off like that and be good usually.
yeah,
That would be my big concern. Uh, After that, I mean, I definitely think he should get a shot. I think someone will give him a shot if he wants to at this point.
yeah.
Um,
I feel like he
Now,
can
whether,
win on a West Coast team.
yeah, I mean, I think that, Pete Carroll might take him.
Yeah,
Like that would make sense, especially with what Pete said recently.
mhm,
How he, kind of regrets not signing him in the first place.
yeah,
I think he'd be a great backup to Russell Wilson there.
yeah,
It makes a lot of sense. They could keep the offense probably fairly similar.
yeah,
Obviously, I think Russ is better than Kaepernick ever was, but Kaepernick could come in and do a fine job. Like I said, I don't know if he wants to do that. Um, Now, I still think Cam probably gets signed first, as long as he shows that he's healthy, because Cam, when healthy, has still played at an elite level, right?
yeah. I hear
He's
you.
not. His biggest issues the last couple of years have been injuries, right? It's his shoulder, his foot, taking away parts of his game that are put him in that elite category.
Right.
Um, a non-healthy Cam may not get signed now. I wouldn't be surprised at that because why do you want to bring in a guy that's not healthy?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think at this point I would put Cam signing first, but I think the chances Kaepernick signs are greater than 50-50. I just think a lot of it depends on what he wants to do. I don't know if he wants to, not that he would have to stop doing the like charity work and stuff that he does now, but it'd probably limit what he could do
I,
for football season.
I
You
would
know what I
like
mean?
I would like to see him come back. I feel like it would add to his cause, because there would be more evidence that he was blackballed, and if he gets in a game um, and performs well, I mean, it's just there's just even more evidence. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? However, it is a risk, because if he like goes out there and sucks, then people are like, well, you
See,
know,
I think there's less downside, right? Because
yeah, no,
you know, if he goes out there and he's bad, well, I mean, he's been out for 3 or 4 years, right?
right,
Like, there's a built-in excuse there, right? If
yeah,
he goes in and he's good, then it's like, oh, well, we should have signed him 3, 4 years ago, right?
yeah.
So,
And I always try to, I don't know, playing things safe is doesn't really get you anywhere. So I hope if he has the opportunity that he takes it.
yeah, I'm with you.
Um, okay, next topic here. So we got some sports maybe coming back. Premier League's coming back, right? In a few
Mm-hmm.
weeks. Um, we got NBA coming back. They're going to play in Orlando. Hockey is coming back. I think they're playing in a few different cities. Maybe it's 2 cities. So that's going to be interesting. Baseball, who knows? Um, baseball, I feel like they're just, I've heard like maybe 4 or 5 different proposals now. I think the most recent one I saw was like something like 79 games or something, maybe a 16 team playoff. Yeah, I don't know. They keep throwing out these ideas. Like, how about this? How about this? How about this? And the players like, how about you pay us? And like every time, I don't know what the owners are thinking. Like, it's not going to get a different result unless you change the compensation. Um, so it got me thinking. Like, if you were commish, and you could come up with your solution to any of the major sports, what would it be? Like, what's the most interesting one, I guess, or if you have ideas for each one. Um, I know I got some, so
Yeah, so if I were, um, I think hockey and the NBA are similar for me, right? Because they got the similar points in their season.
yeah,
If I'm them, I kind of do what they're doing, right? Just for me, any team that's close, right? Limit it to maybe 24 teams or whatever, like hockey did, and basketball I think did 22 or something like
yeah,
that. Remove the teams that are just really bad, right? Anyone that's close to qualifying for the playoffs, everyone goes into a tournament, right? If you're doing it in the same city, like basketball is going to be doing, you could just run a, best of 3, best of 5 pretty easily, like for each
yeah,
round. Um, you just play, you can go probably back to back days because you're not having to travel, you're not having to do any of that extracurricular stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And you just play out a tournament with each round being like 3, and then the finals could be best of 7, and the semifinals could be best of 5 or something like that, right? Something, you know. If I were basketball and hockey, I would think about something like that. I still wouldn't do a full like 1 game playoff because I don't want some trash team to end up winning it, even though that might be a lot of fun, right?
yeah,
But I think, even if you don't want to extend series, just do best of 3, right? And just make it a fun tournament. Or if you want to do another thing that would be really fun is each round is 1 game, but double elimination tournament, right? So even if you lose your first game, you got a chance to run the table. Um, I think that stuff like that would be a lot of fun and should be something that's experimented with right now because of the because of the situation, right? Like you're
yeah,
in a unique situation. We're all in a unique situation. Just have fun with it. Do something exciting for the fans, right? It doesn't have to go down either as like, I mean, the way the NBA is doing it, they want to crown a finals champion, right? They want to crown the NBA champ. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I think if you change it up, you don't necessarily have to crown a NBA champion this year,
Yeah,
right? Like if you did a double elimination
the
tournament, you
COVID
just
tournament champ.
yeah, exactly, right. And then you just go without a champion this year, right?
Banners fly forever.
Exactly. I mean, that would actually probably be in like 50 years really cool for a team to just have the like COVID
Yeah,
banner, right?
yeah. That would be
Because you'd
that
be
would
the
be
only one.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean similar ideas. I feel like, a 2024 team playoff for both hockey and basketball would be pretty sweet. I think I would play with the um, with the format a little bit. Maybe have some of the lower teams, like I guess if you're in that, like maybe the 12 and the 11 play each other until it narrows down to like 16 teams or something. And then I don't know, I would kind of want to have, not every round be like best of three or best of five. I would like to see that, like the pressure of a one game thing, kind of like the NCAA tournament,
Yeah.
just because it adds like a different element. And I don't know. I would just something I would like to see. It's probably not anything anybody would go for, but I think that would be fun. And then for baseball, um, and I think I would just really do something different than what they currently do. I would even think about changing the game length. Maybe they just play 6 innings or something, and maybe they're doing double headers so they can fill in the lack of the same number of games, and they can keep pitchers fresh. Um, I would do something. I think I would do something like that, um, just to, I don't know, just to change things up, to get people to watch, especially. And I don't know, just create a different dynamic. Maybe you get some teams, that maybe be better suited for those formats. And yeah, just kind of go for it. Go for something different. It's a unique time. There's not going to be fans in the crowd, so why not do something different so people will have another reason to tune in, and maybe you get some good ideas out of it. Maybe it's not like, moving forward that's how all the seasons are going to be, but you can take little pieces that worked and implement them.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
definitely think baseball should experiment with like length of game and stuff like that now.
yeah, I don't know if baseball's going to come back. The commissioner said, what, 2 days ago, that he guarantees, like 100% sure there's going to be baseball this year. I don't know, man. That might be the freezingest cold take of all time here in a few months, or I mean, even a few weeks. It's, what is it, June 12th? Shouts to everybody in the mixer for wishing me a happy half birthday yesterday. Freaking assholes always forget.
We don't
Um,
celebrate that shit.
if you have a December birthday, the temptation is there. Um, so so yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not looking good for baseball, and they're already
Yeah,
struggling.
I think
So
baseball owners have really like misread the situation, to be honest.
yeah,
From the stuff that I've read, it seems like baseball owners are trying to get their negotiations with the players. They're trying to use the fact that like, oh, you guys might not get paid if we don't play, to bring in like one thing I was reading is they're trying to bring in a salary cap, right?
yeah,
Uh, they're trying to include other things, and I was reading one like recap of the last like 3 proposals that the owner suggested.
Yeah.
And even though they all had different like pay numbers, they all ended up at 33% of the player's salary, or roughly there, right? Like it was like 35, 31, 33-ish. And that's what the players were like. The players are like, you're not changing anything. You're just like, you're changing, like, you're keeping our salary the same by just changing how many games we play and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? And so,
It's almost like they're allocating. It's like a video game, and they're just using the sliders. Like, yeah, this much resources.
yeah,
So, like, you subtract it, and then you're like, okay, I move this one further. It's like, well, no, you need to add more shit so we can like,
right,
we could expend all of them out. Like, stop being cheap asses.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely think baseball could have really thrived because they could have been like,
the only
I don't
show in
know how
town.
early they, huh?
The only show in town. If they would
Yeah,
have
pretty much.
shit together. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and hopefully these guys can get tested because I don't know if you've looked at the numbers, but they're going back up in a lot of places.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw that.
San Diego, it hasn't been really that bad here compared to some other spots, but things are, if you look at the 14-day average, it is going up a little. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I know places like Arizona, there's hospitals filling up and shit. So
mhm.
I mean, it's by no means going away. Um, I think I've become a fall peak guy. I think there's or a second, not necessarily a second wave, but when flu season rolls around, fall, winter, I think that's when we're going to see the worst of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I hope these sports commissioners are thinking about that, doing regular testing and stuff, because although these players may not be at risk, it's their families and stuff that they have to go home to, um, that you do not want to unnecessarily endanger. At the same time, we can't just sit around forever. So it's really tough situation. I know Harbaugh um, came out and said that John Harbaugh, the Ravens coach, and they were given guidelines on what to do for training camp, and he's like, "This is not possible." All the stuff they want to do, like limiting people's or in the huddles, wearing masks
Yeah.
around pretty much all the time, weight room restrictions and all that. He's like, I don't know how we're gonna do this, but
Right.
join the club. Everybody's trying to figure out what they need to do. So, um, interesting days ahead. Do you think the NFL season gets shortened?
Um, if it does, I don't think it's much, to be honest. I think
Yeah,
the NFL's gonna be. I think they'll figure it out. Like while I'm not a Roger Goodell fan, right? Like he's very clearly, and he's doing his job, right? Like his job is to protect the owners and their interests in a
yeah,
lot of ways. Um, and he does his job, and he does it very well. But I think they'll figure out. Like the NFL is the best run league we have, in terms of like getting their product out, getting it in front of people, all that
yeah,
stuff, right? So I'm pretty sure they'll figure it out. If they lose any time, I think it's like 4 weeks at the most,
yeah.
right? Like I don't think we're in any real danger of missing the
Do you
NFL
think
season.
do you think they changed the format at all?
No, I just don't. I mean, maybe, but I just don't think they will. I think unless something crazy happens, which I mean, it's 2020. Who knows?
Yeah, ten
Um,
thousand people start dying per day.
yeah, like unless something like just completely crazy happens, I don't think that we. I don't think football has an issue, much of an issue, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's,
I'm curious to see, and I am excited for sports to be back.
yeah,
That is for sure. Formula One gonna be back at some
and
point. They keep announcing more races being canceled, but it looks like they're just going to race in Europe, which is where most of the best tracks are anyway,
Good.
especially some older tracks that have kind of gotten phased out in favor of these,
Newer ones.
yeah, that have, they're wide. They have all these like luxury boxes. Basically,
Yeah.
they're built for the elite on the back of the poor. It's. I mean, there is Formula One is as bad as like the Olympic Commission and FIFA, the way they do things, and the way they I don't know, kind of hold these countries hostage about these tracks and events, because each Grand Prix is almost like a World Cup final, is basically
Right.
how they're treated in their respective countries. So a lot of the older tracks that were before that era that have gotten phased out because they haven't had all the big upgrades, the big um, luxury boxes and stuff that are more built for the everyman.
Yeah.
Might be coming back, which would be awesome, because it's been, I mean, in some cases decades since they've raced at those tracks. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, hopefully they're doing that. They're talking about like staying at a track, racing on Sunday, then racing again on Wednesday. So yeah, I I'm excited for that. So it's gonna mix things up, and should produce some interesting results. Um, well, we're almost up against time here. Did you have anything else you wanted to bring? Oh, we didn't talk Doug's, man. You've been watching Doug's?
I haven't watched a whole lot. I've been following though, and I know
Yeah.
that last I saw, he was um, had 2 losses on the season, but
Yeah.
was still number one.
Yeah. There was a well, yeah. So there was a turnaround. He lost the championship game over the weekend to Virginia Tech. He just fell apart and got destroyed, mainly because of a costly interception. And then he came back. He won like the first game pretty convincingly, and then he played Virginia Tech again, lost to Virginia Tech, and then played Florida. And did he beat Florida? No, I think he lost to Florida in a close one. Yeah, he lost to Florida on a last second field goal. He scored too quick, and then they kicked a game winning field goal right as time expired. And then so he was 1-2, but he was ranked like ninth still. And then he played Michigan, and then that game was awesome. It was back and forth, down, and he pulled it off. I think he hit a game winning field goal late. Um, and then he just kind of went on a run. So I've been watching the streams. It's the Pardon My Take Twitch thing. Twitch streams. They stream NCAA 2K14.
Yeah,
Which, by the way, I looked up. Do you know how much those go for on eBay?
I I do because I almost bought one. They go for like $150,
Yeah,
something like
man.
that. Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, can I like get it? It's an old game. Like, maybe there's more people paying attention to it right now. Maybe you can get it for, I was thinking like $40. And when on there it was like 150. I mean, and there's all kinds of listings for like 200, 250 for like mint condition ones. And then people are just selling the cases for like $25.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. So, if anybody's got a copy,
I
hook
have.
the brother up.
I was not able to get 14. I got NCAA 12 that I've played a little bit because I have an
Uh,
old PS3.
oh, nice, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. They're probably not cross compatible. I hate that. I hate that when you can't you can't play, the old games. Like PS2 was the last one where you can like just pop in a PS1 game and it would work, and then they're like, we could sell more games if we don't give that capability.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed because I went on the Xbox, the Microsoft store,
Yeah,
and I was looking for any NCAA game. I would have bought
yeah.
it, like anyone they had, and they don't have any of them online. Because I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'll just download it digitally and play it on my Xbox One, right? And then not able to. So
First, we'll solve, racial discrimination, and then we will solve player compensation because clearly not being able to play college sports games on
well,
your
okay,
on
I
your
think
computer
this.
system.
I do think that is pretty much solved from everything I've read. There should be an NCAA football in like 2021, 2022, something like
Yeah, I
that.
keep saying that, but I've also read that it's like the individual conferences and stuff have their own contracts or something with like different
Yeah.
game systems. So, there might be like SEC football
Oh,
2023
gotcha.
or something. So, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully they get it right.
Yeah.
It's colleges. So, if there's they're not a government institution, but it's like healthcare and in colleges. Most area for opportunity, but these companies are typically get it wrong. So, speaking of healthcare jobs, I got to get to mine. So, got anything
Nice.
in the last couple seconds, or are we good here?
I think we're good.
Be well, stay well, stay safe, Mixer, and we will catch you next week. Let's get it. Have a good weekend. See you, Jeff.
See ya.